Manx Radio's Update with Beth Espy.
Fast am I, and a very good evening to you. It is 5 p.m. on Friday, the 2nd of August. It's nearly the weekend, isn't it? And welcome to your daily news roundup. What we've got coming up in the next half hour includes some changes to prescriptions being considered. We're going to take you through what's being proposed and how it might affect you. Also today, another trade union is calling for an increase to pay offers. We'll speak to Prospect, but still nothing from the Public Services Commission. We'll also hear from the mum of a little boy who's been taking part in the British Transplant Games, and we speak to the little girl who has met her pop idol. All that and much more to come before 5:30, and as ever you can get in touch if you text 166 177. First, let's join Christian for the latest news headlines.
Trade Union Prospect is renewing calls for higher pay increases for public and civil servants as well as Manx Care employees. It follows the UK government's decision to accept recommendations from independent pay review bodies for an average increase of 5.5%. A former Chief Minister says the island's railways are not being given the status they deserve. Tony Brown's comments come on the same day Castletown Railway Station celebrates its 150th anniversary. And 2 Summerland memorials are being held this evening to remember the 50 people that died in the fire. This year marks the 51st anniversary of the tragedy. Residents are being welcomed to attend both. Details can be found at manxradio.com. In international news now, the UK Culture Secretary has called for Hugh Edwards to return the money he made from the BBC while he was off air. Following his arrest, the former newsreader admitted accessing indecent images of children. 3 Americans released from jail in Russia are back home after an historic swap, the largest prisoner exchange since the Cold War. After spending time with their families, they've flown to a military base in Texas to begin medical evaluations. And Team GB is having another successful day at the Paris Olympics with 3 more gold medals. Wins in the equestrians team jumping final, the women's trampoline and rowing's lightweight double sculls all added to their tally. Those are the update news headlines, next at 6.
Thanks very much, Christian. Now the weather brought to you by Manx Glass and Glazing. It is a bit of a mixed bag, so there's going to be outbreaks of rain and drizzle, extensive hill fog, fresh to strong southerly winds this evening, but it will clear a little bit later and that wind will swing to the northwest and ease as well. Minimum overnight temperatures a little bit cooler than of late. They'll be around 10 Celsius. Tomorrow though, mainly dry, sunny spells, light to moderate west winds. They'll back to the southwest later in the afternoon, and temperatures tomorrow 17, so again a little bit colder than we've been used to over the past couple of days. And then Sunday, a risk of some patchy light rain at first, but there will be some good sunny intervals at times. Then a more prolonged spell of rain arriving early in the evening on Sunday, and best temperatures again of around 17. Sunset this evening will be at 9:14, sunrise tomorrow morning at 5:35.
Manx Glass and Glazing don't just do the big jobs. It's easy to repair broken greenhouse glass at Manx Glass and Glazing. For greenhouse glass cut to size, call 674 573.
See the island like you've never seen it before on an incredible chauffeur-driven trike tour. A unique way to make memories that will last a lifetime. Gift vouchers available too. See iomtriketours.com for details and booking.
One architectural design company has particular expertise in achieving planning approval for a wide variety of projects, from landmark buildings to spectacular homes. Talk to the experts at Ellis Brown and get your project off the ground. For excellence in design, search Ellis Brown.
Your business can grow its market share 4 times faster. Be heard by over 43,000 island adults over 13 weeks. Call us on 682 600. Manx Radio is proud to support Manx businesses and communities.
Firestone Rubber Roof Shop for one-piece flat roofing systems. No joins, no leaks. We also line commercial box gutters in one piece up to 60 metres with a 20-year written warranty against leakage. Call Rubber Roof Shop on 49667.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
It's just coming up to 5:05. Now, the Health Minister says his department is looking at reducing the list of prescription exemptions, saying the current system favours a number of medical condition over others, which creates, he says, inequity and unfairness. News editor Tessa Hawley joins me now. Tessa, first of all, do we know why this is being reviewed at this point?
So this revelation has come from part of a written answer from Ramsey MHK and Health Minister Laurie Hooper. It's in response to questions posed by Douglas North MHK John Wannenberg. He'd asked what consideration has been given to issuing free prescriptions for cancer patients.
So what was Mr Hooper's response to that?
Well, perhaps not what Mr Wannenberg wanted to hear. In response, the Minister said the island is seeing what he's described as a continuing and unsustainable rise in the cost of drugs dispensed in the community, with fewer than 5% of prescription items incurring charges. Now, this contributes less than £1 million towards the overall £18 million annual community drugs bill. Mr Hooper says there are some conditions where a person can receive their prescription free of charge, but that they then also receive other items unrelated to their chronic condition for free. However, others, such as people with cancer, would be required to pay for their prescriptions unless they were eligible for one of the other exemptions. So Mr Hooper is saying that his department is currently undertaking a review of the policy as it stands.
And so what could the changes look like then?
Well, Mr Hooper says his department wants to focus on supporting those who are unable to pay in future, rather than judging it on age or specific condition. He says the aim is to reform the policy to be more equitable, whilst also helping to ensure that the escalating cost of drugs can continue to be met. Intrinsic to a reformed policy would be that anyone who pays prescription charges can cap their annual cost for items with a prepayment certificate, and the department is intending to introduce the opportunity for people to spread the cost of those prepayment certificates over the year. Mr Hooper adds that the department is encouraging anyone who pays for regular prescriptions to see if they meet the criteria for an existing exemption, or to purchase one of those prepayment certificates to reduce the impact of the cost.
Tessa Hawley, thank you. And if you have any thoughts on this, you'd be welcome to share them. 166 177 if you want to text. You can email studio@manxradio.com. It's just gone 7 minutes past 5, and the Trade Union Prospect is renewing calls for higher pay increases for public and civil servants, as well as Manx care employees. Now, this follows the UK government's decision to accept recommendations from the independent pay review bodies for an average increase of 5.5%. Speaking with Manx Radio's Christian Jones, Prospect's negotiations officer Mick Hewer says offers made on the island should be significantly higher as well.
On the Isle of Man, at the moment, the offers stand at 3.5% for healthcare workers and 3.25%, dropping to 2% in year 3 of a 3-year offer from the Public Services Commission.
Now, you've said there are significant recruitment and retention issues being faced across a wide range of sectors. Do you think these could be addressed by having less of a pay differential between the UK and the Isle of Man?
I think that actually, I think the pay differential needs to be more. It needs to be significantly higher on the island to allow for the additional cost of living that we see. At the moment, the differentials are shrinking, and I think that's adding to the difficulties in recruitment and retention issues that we're seeing across the island. So I think that the differentials need to be restored, hence our calls for pay increases at least in line with the UK and preferably higher.
Unions are obviously very good at calling for higher pay rises, but where would that money come from to have that higher differential between the UK and the Isle of Man? Because the Manx government keeps telling us that public finances are already under enough pressure as it is.
They do, year on year, and I've lived on the Isle of Man since 1990, and I don't think that message has ever been any different coming out of Treasury. So I think that Treasury need to have a review of all the taxation systems that are in place on the island and national insurance thresholds with a view to taxing the higher earners. And I'm not just talking about a couple of £1,000 difference here. I'm talking about those that are significantly earning thousands and thousands of pounds. There needs to be a review of the taxation system
The Health Minister has recently said that he has worries that the unions will see above inflation pay awards in the UK and immediately call for the same, but ignoring that we're two separate jurisdictions with separate budgets and finances. Does he not have a point there?
I don't think that he does. I think that he should be concentrating on where new employees are going to arrive from, coming into the island to support the health services, the police, the prisons, education. If the salaries aren't significantly more attractive on the island, taking into account the significant increases in costs, particularly around housing and rental costs, where does he think that people are going to arrive on the island from to actually work in these critical service areas?
That's Prospect Negotiations Officer Mick Hewer talking to Christian. Manx Radio does continue to seek comment from the Public Services Commission about all of this, but we are yet to receive a response. In fact, we're actually now on our 9th attempt to ask the PSC chair to respond to claims put forward by Unions Unite and Prospect. 10.5 minutes past 5. The Home Affairs Minister says work is underway to further develop the Isle of Man's emergency planning function. Now, this topic was a really big one at the July sitting of Tynwald when the island's politicians gathered to discuss Kate Brunner Casey's COVID-19 review and her recommendations. But just how does a department plan for unknown future emergencies? Political correspondent Phil Gaughan asked that question to Jane Paul Wilson.
I think you've made a very good point, Phil, that there are a whole raft of ways in which emergencies might arise. And I suppose our emergency planning function works incredibly well at what you might call the sort of blue light related emergencies that are more, if you like, day to day. We might see those, but they will quite often tend to be the shorter types of emergencies. I think the wider concern is when we might see a prolonged emergency with it could have all sorts of potential ramifications for the Isle of Man. So I think that is why there were a number of recommendations about enhancing our emergency planning ability. And I'm pleased that there was really sort of positive engagement in the debate in July on this, that there was recognition, I think, from members in Tynwald that work has been underway actually to develop out our emergency planning function, but further work is needed. And actually in the response from government, we set out now over the next 2 years some transformation work to facilitate our ability to plan better and have plans, to exercise those plans, to think through in a variety of emergency situations that could arise for the island. So that work, transformation work almost, will go ahead now over the next 2 years, which I hope will put us on a much surer footing for the range, as you say, of potential emergencies that could arise.
That's the Home Affairs Minister, Jane Paul Wilson. And in fact, you can hear more of that conversation in this week's Perspective programme with Phil at midday on Sunday. Coming up to 13 minutes past 5, let's turn our attention to business, brought to you by Ramsey Crookall. And the Department of Infrastructure says it's continuing to assess the application by gas exploration company Kroger Limited to vary the terms of its licence by bringing forward the drilling of an appraisal well. The company's been granted a short period of additional time to provide information relating to this request. The 3-month extension is aimed at allowing time for a variation of the so-called Seaward Production Innovative Licence to be fully considered. Simon Richardson has more details.
At February's Tynwald sitting, DOI Minister Tim Crookall said a decision on Kroger's variation of licence request would be made by the end of June at the absolute latest. The licence currently requires the company to undertake a work programme as part of Phase B, which includes a 3D seismic survey prior to moving to exploratory drilling in Phase C. The variation request would allow drilling on the basis of a 2D survey. An appraisal well is drilled to assess the scale and economic viability of a gas deposit.
Simon Richardson. And the public is being given the chance to comment on the latest proposals to streamline the Isle of Man's planning system and just make make it easier for people to use. The consultation invites public feedback on plans to improve the process for property owners and boost protection for the island's built heritage. Claire Barber, Minister for Environment, told us that the changes would ensure processes are clear, accessible and effective in creating attractive places to live, protecting the environment and supporting sustained economic growth. The 12-week consultation can be found on the government's consultation hub. Now, the stock market report brought to us by Ramsey Crookall, and they tell us that European equities plunged again as part of the global sell-off in share markets continuing today after weak US manufacturing data sparked fears of the world's biggest economy going into recession, while chipmakers were hit hard by Intel suspending its dividend and announcing plans to slash its workforce. London stocks were still in the red by mid-afternoon today as weak US data raised those fears about the economy and ahead of the release of the all-important non-farm payrolls report. Wall Street stocks were firmly in the red at the opening bell today amid resurgent fears of a potentially oncoming recession. The US dollar dropped after that data showed employers added fewer jobs in July than economists had forecast, while the unemployment rate unexpectedly moved higher. Gold prices hit their highest in over 2 weeks today as Treasury yields and the dollar declined after data showed the US economy created those fewer jobs, and US crude oil fell nearly 3% after that weak jobs report raised those renewed fears. GSK was in the black, though, as it said the US Food and Drug Administration had approved its new treatment in combination with chemotherapy to use for adult patients with primary, advanced or recurrent endometriotal cancer. Looking at the markets, the commodities first. Gold currently stands off 0.57% at $2,431. Brent crude oil is currently off 3.78% at $76.92. And the latest from the FTSE 100 at the close was off 1.44% at 8,164. The Dow a short time ago was off 2.23% at 39,450. And the Nasdaq off 3.11% at 16,660.
I'm running late again. Do you know where I put my car keys?
In the fridge.
Where's my phone?
Under the dog basket.
Bye.
You haven't forgotten that we're seeing Ramsey Crookall later?
Oh, no, of course not. 5 p.m, is it?
3:45.
I'll be there.
Life is busy. That's why Ramsey Crookall's team takes time to help you make a mindful investment decision, considering all the options, giving you full control of your financial future. Less stress, more assurance.
Forgot to put my shoes on.
See how we can make your money work for you. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Nothing to report on the roads as far as we are aware. If those traffic lights were there this morning, they're likely to still be there this evening on your way home. And just as Chris mentioned earlier, the visibility on the higher routes is a little bit poor, so just be careful if you're out and about. If you do spot anything though, 166 177, or you can email studio@manxradio.com, and all okay down at the Steam Packet and airport as well.
Ask how you can spread the cost interest-free at
Quayside.
It is 17 and a half minutes past 5. Now, Isle of Man residents are being encouraged to consider registering as organ donors. A year ago, 3-year-old Aidan Cleave's health was deteriorating as he awaited a life-saving kidney transplant. Legislation that would switch the current rules to an opt-out system, known as Daniel's Law, is yet to come into effect, and no date has been set for its implementation. Fortunately, Aidan did receive a transplant, and today he competed in the British Transplant Games, as his mother Shirley explains.
This time last year, we knew lots of people were going to the Transplant Games from Alder Hey, but we never actually thought we'd ever get the opportunity to go. This time last year, we were on our we've been given the Aidan's unlikely to survive now. We can't get a donor for him and his lines are failing. And, we'd been through hospice and worked out plans. So this is the first games. And from where we are this time last year, it's just absolutely amazing to be here.
Is little Aidan participating? What is he participating in?
This time last year, Aidan wasn't walking. He had no energy to walk and he hadn't walked since he was born. So he's now up on his feet since he had the kidney. He bounced up onto his feet. So we've got him into some obstacle races. We've got him into some running races. And then he's shown his strength strength by doing activities such as archery, stacking, and he's also doing throwing as well. He loves throwing things as well. So there's quite a few activities that they've got him involved in, which is excellent. It's amazing. Just really for people who haven't already thought about organ donation, you're never too old to donate your organs, no matter what you think. You're not too old, and if you haven't considered it, maybe have a look into it. There are lots of children like Aidan who, have got to that point where it's been desperate. I think if people could just maybe have a think about it, and that would be amazing if we could help more of these children out who are just like Aidan. They're innocent, they haven't done anything wrong, and they've just been born here with the desperate need of help.
That is Shirley, Aidan Cleeve's mum, speaking there. We'll keep you up to date with how Aidan has done in the games today. What an incredible family. They've done some wonderful fundraising, some lovely photographs if you go to the Manx Radio Facebook page as well. So we wish them all the very best. It is 5:20. Time for some sport news now with our sports editor, Rob Pritchard. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you, Beth.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Got lots of sporting things going on then?
Indeed. Well, we'll start with motorsport and a very familiar name on the Isle of Man, John McGuinness. He's been confirmed to take part in this year's Manx Grand Prix and for the first time will compete in 2 different classes at the meeting. The Morecambe man will once again be on board the 500cc Winfield Pattern in the Classic Senior race and will now also ride a 350cc Stedplan Honda in the reintroduced Classic Junior event. Having first raced at the MGP in 2013, McGuinness still holds the Classic Senior lap record set on the Winfield Pattern of 113.342 miles an hour, which has stood since 2016. The 23-time TT winner also holds the race record for that category on the same machine of 111.559 miles an hour. In the last 2 years at the Manx Grand Prix, McGuinness withdrew from the 2022 Classic Senior race due to mechanical issues and last year finished second in the event, only behind Dean Harrison. The 2024 Manx Grand Prix is due to take place from the 18th to the 26th of August. Elsewhere, and also on 2 wheels, Manx International Trials rider Caitlin Adshead is top of the standings in this year's European Championship. The Team Station Garage competitor took part in rounds 3 and 4 of the Women's EC Series at Isola in France in the last week, coming home in P2 in round 3 before taking first place in the 4th stage the day after. As a result, Adshead leads the overall classifications at this point on 370 points, ahead of Czech Republic's Denisa Pechakova on 355 points, with Adshead's fellow British rider Alicia Robinson in third on 295. Rounds 5 and 6 of the championship take place at Großhubach in Germany this Saturday and Sunday. And finally, the Isle of Man's snooker team will put their skills to the test against some of the top players from Britain and Ireland this weekend. A 4-strong Manx men's squad of Darryl Hill, Dolan Mercer, Marek Kenny and Conor Mann are taking part in the 2024 Home Internationals competition at the Northern Snooker Centre in Leeds from today until Sunday. 3 of the 4 members of the Ireland team of Hill, Mercer and Kenny were involved in the event last year, whilst Mann is making his international debut. The Isle of Man's first match of the tournament will see them face Scotland tonight at 7pm.
Thank you very much indeed, Rob. Some great place name pronunciations again. You've been practising?
Practising all day for them, Beth.
We want an accent next time. And, of course, Rob will be back with you from 5:30 with the Friday Sport preview. 5:22. Some lovely news now. A 9-year-old girl from the Isle of Man has had her dream come true after she met her favourite singer, Taylor Swift. Darcy Kitchen and her family were at the Pop Megastars Eras Tour in Warsaw in Poland this week. And at the concert, Darcy was selected from a crowd of around 65,000 others to meet the American star and also exchange some friendship bracelets.
She's just so beautiful and it was just very amazing. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. I just think that, I just thought it wasn't real and I was just in a dream. So I was just dancing and then this man came and just took me to the stage. Well, she came up to me and she was like, "Oh my God, you're so beautiful." And I was like, didn't really know what to say. Really, it was just so crazy. But I just was like, "I love you so much, Taylor." And it was just very good. I just love her songs because she has a very good I just love everything about her. She's just a very good artist. Well, basically, I was at school the day that my mum was trying to get tickets, and we didn't get any. But my sister, when we came home from school, my sister's in high school, she got us some tickets, which was very lucky because it was about 4 o'clock, and it was very hard to get tickets after it's all sold out.
You also got to share some friendship bracelets with her.
I just had, I made a special one just in case, but I just didn't think I was actually going to trade it with her, but I made it in just in case, I was just very happy, but I was crying because it was just such a magical moment for me, and she's just been one of my favourite singers for a very, very long time, and it was just it was my first ever proper concert, off the island, and it was just very cool that I got to have that experience on my first ever concert, really.
How amazing is Darcy? That's Darcy Kitchen. Incidentally, she goes to Peel Clothworkers School, who are very proud of her as well. And what a moment meeting her favourite ever singer, Taylor Swift. And just lovely. Again, go to manxradio.com. Some lovely photographs on there. I was trying to think of the most famous person I've ever met. I can't think of one at the moment. Rob Pritchard, obviously. 5:25. Now, if you're looking for something to do with the kids, the Manx Wildlife Trust is inviting children aged 5 to 9 and their adults to take part in an adventure through nature this summer in their new Let's Get Wild show. Now, this was launched recently, and it's an audio immersive experience which sees participants take part by listening through silent disco-style headphones. Lucy Chapman explains what children will hear during the 30-minute show.
We have got a main character who is Ali, and Ali will be with the participants on the day, leading them through the experience in the silent disco headphones. We meet a couple of different characters. Professor Whizbang, he's very intelligent but a bit overcome with ambition, and he's doing a new invention, but he doesn't know that it's hurting wildlife in the Isle of Man. So Ali leads the children and adults, if they want to take part, through a series of challenges and exercises as they train up to become wildlife experts and teach Professor Whizbang that he needs to look after wildlife too. We've got another character, Hannah, who is a super wildlife expert, so when we need the extra tips about wildlife in the Isle of Man, Hannah calls in and gives those details to Ali and the kids taking part. And then after the show, once the children have graduated from the Wildlife Experts Academy, and we won't spoil what happens at the end with Professor Whizbang, but they receive a passport, and inside the different wildlife that we met throughout the show have set some challenges that the children can carry on completing throughout the summer holidays, and then when they send in that completed sheet to us, they'll get a special certificate, and that's their super expert wildlife certificate and badge, because we want to keep in touch with these people and their families for a long time, and keep people engaged and loving and having fun with wildlife and nature.
Oh, Lucy Chapman there from the Manx Wildlife Trust. What a great idea. So the next tour date for Let's Get Wild is actually this Sunday. That's the 4th of August at Peel Carnival. And you can book your slot via the Manx Wildlife Trust website, or you can go to their Facebook page. So as I say, if you're looking for something to do over the summer, and the little booklet you get is brilliant, and it's really just aimed at this age group, 5 to 9s, which is always nice to have something to do with them. Thank you so much for your company. That is all from Update this evening. If you want to listen back to any part of the programme, it will shortly be available to download as a podcast. Coming up next this evening, as I say, it is the Friday Sport Preview with Rob. Alex Brindley will then be here with Greatest Hits this evening. It's then Sweet and Swing with Howard Kane before Paul Moran joins you at 10 for the 90s playlist. As ever, if you've got a story or something that's happening in your family or anything that you want to let us know about, newsroom@manxradio.com is the best email address. Do also head over to the Manx Radio website. There's a host of interviews on there that you might not have heard yet if you go to the Manx Newscast section. And there's also the good news section as well, because we like to brighten up your day a little bit. Whatever you're doing over the weekend, have a great one, and I'll be back with you at 5 p.m. on Monday.